Is Kamala Harris better than Donald Trump for the US dollar long term? Evaluating whether Kamala Harris or Donald Trump would be better for the US dollar in the long term depends on several economic, fiscal, and geopolitical factors. Here's a breakdown of key considerations. 1. Monetary policy and Federal Reserve relationship. Trump's approach. Trump was often critical of the Federal Reserve, especially when it didn't align with his preference for low interest rates, which he believed would boost growth. His stance created uncertainty around the Fed's independence, which is key to maintaining confidence in the dollar. Harris-Biden administration. While Harris hasn't directly influenced monetary policy, the Biden administration and Harris support the Fed's independence. The administration has generally respected the Federal Reserve's role in managing inflation and setting interest rates. Stability and confidence in the Fed help support long-term strength in the dollar. 2. Fiscal policy, debt and deficits. Trump's fiscal legacy. Trump's administration introduced significant tax cuts, 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, leading to higher deficits. Although this provided short-term economic growth, it added to the national debt, which could weigh on the dollar in the long term, especially if markets lose confidence in U.S. fiscal discipline. Harris and the Biden approach. The Biden-Harris administration has been more focused on fiscal stimulus and large-scale infrastructure spending. While this has helped the post-pandemic recovery, critics argue that the substantial spending could contribute to inflation and increase the national debt. However, some argue investments in infrastructure and technology could strengthen the U.S. economy long-term. 3. Trade policy. Trump's trade wars. Trump's tariffs on China and other trade partners contributed to short-term volatility in the dollar. While protectionist policies can support domestic industries, they can disrupt global trade, leading to uncertainty and instability in currency markets. Harris-Biden, free trade. The Biden administration, with Harris as VP, has moved towards a more multilateral trade approach, working with allies rather than pursuing unilateral tariffs. A stable global trade environment is generally positive for the dollar's long-term strength, though it's unclear how aggressive they will be on trade enforcement. 4. Foreign policy. Trump's unconventional foreign policy. Trump's unpredictable foreign policy, including strained relations with traditional allies and confrontations with China, created geopolitical uncertainty, which sometimes weakened the dollar. While he promoted America first, his approach made international investors cautious at times. Harris-Biden administration. The Biden-Harris administration has sought to restore traditional alliances and adopt a more predictable foreign policy. Geopolitical stability tends to favor long-term confidence in the dollar. 5. Inflation and interest rates. Trump. During Trump's term, inflation remained low, but the long-term impact of increased fiscal deficits could have pressured inflation higher if not for the Fed's interventions. Harris-Biden. Under Biden and Harris, inflation surged post-pandemic due to global supply chain issues and increased stimulus spending. Managing inflation will be key to maintaining the dollar's purchasing power in the future. Conclusion. Trump. Short-term dollar strength under Trump was supported by tax cuts and lower interest rates, but his trade policies and higher deficits could hurt the dollar in the long run. Harris. As part of the Biden administration, Harris supports a more conventional approach to trade, international relations, and economic policy, but higher spending and inflation could create long-term pressures on the dollar. Ultimately, the answer depends on whether the U.S. focuses on reducing deficits, managing inflation, and maintaining stable geopolitical relations. Both Trump's and Harris's approaches have risks and potential benefits for the dollar's long-term strength.